Nick, welcome back to the Mindful Fire podcast. It's great to have you back.
Hey, buddy, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. It's such an honor to have you back. I can't believe it's been 5 years since you were on episode 11 and 12 of the podcast. If you're listening to this, go back, listen to those episodes. It's an incredible story. Nick shared his journey from poverty to Google, and now we are beyond that. I talk a lot about vision on this podcast, and I talk about how important it is to have a vision going into the next chapter of your life. And whether you're going to the next chapter or not, knowing where you want to go is important. I am about 14 months into my quote unquote early/slash semi-retirement entrepreneurial adventure. And I've learned a lot over this last 14 months. And I'm in this end of year reflective, where do I want to go from here? And so I thought, who better than my friend Nick, who's an incredible coach, to come on and do some live coaching with me. So welcome back, Nick.
Thanks, man. No, it's really great to be here. And I cannot believe it's been 5 years. Time is a very strange thing. A lot has happened in my life in the last 5 years. So even since we had those early conversations, it's interesting. I'm trying to put myself back in the mindset of where I was at in 2020.
2020.
Wild times. Yeah. So before a layoff, before a relaunch of my coaching business, before I did a bunch of wilderness training on mindfulness in the wilderness with Awake in the Wild, before I launched and grew and then closed down a nonprofit and published a few. It's just been crazy what has
You've
happened
done a lot. You've
here.
done a lot. You've had 9 lives since that. And yeah, so just reintroduce yourself to the audience. Who are you? What lights you up?
Yeah, first of all, conversations like this light me up. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast again, but it's also just good to be face to face with you. For folks that are listening, Adam and I have been friends for many years. We're both ex-Googlers, both part of the GPause program and the mindfulness programs at Google. We've never met in person. So it's one of those, like we were just talking before we hit record. I also talk to a lot of people about my really great friend, Adam, who I've actually never met before. So it's one of these really interesting things of the modern era that we live in. But who am I? As Adam said, I'm a coach, I'm a mindfulness facilitator, I am a community builder, I'm a publisher and author, I'm a lot of things, I'm a cat dad. But most importantly, I'm on a journey and I'm helping other people on their own journey as well, and really hoping to try to destigmatize some of the struggle that people have in these transition moments. You mentioned you're a year out from your early retirement or like that decision to leave corporate. We're also recording this 10 days before the solstice. So the changing of the season, light is getting darker and darker, and then all of a sudden it flips over and starts to bring more light in. And I think that actually, to me, just resonates with your whole approach to envisioning and paying attention to these threshold moments and using them for reflection. And the question that you asked is, what do I want to do next? Where are we going here? So I think it's a really beautiful time, and I'm really honored to talk with you right now.
It is that time of the year. And I get into that mindset late November and mid-November. And it's reconsidering everything. It
Yeah.
seems to be, I'm like, look back at my journal, it's like everything's on the chopping block. And I feel like that's at odds with my whole thing about having a big vision for your life, but it's not, because the big vision is long term. And in each year and each month, we have to make decisions that let things go, pick up new things. And I feel like one of the things that stands out to me, just came back from I don't even know how to describe it. It's Front Row Dads Live. It was like a entrepreneurial fathers retreat/conference/seminar. It was all these things. It was wild. We started with drumming. Like we walked into the room and there were drums and it was so awesome. But one of the things that I realized is that I've just been carrying so much
Mhm.
from the past that is not serving me.
Yeah.
And one of those things is the hurt from being betrayed by Google and all of that. And I know you went through a similar experience. I know a lot of people have gone through this experience, not just in tech. It seems to be profit at all costs these days. And maybe that's always the way it has been. But I thought I was over it. And I realized that I wasn't over it when I was introducing myself to people at the conference by telling the story again. I told this to my wife about that. I'm like, oh, like I'm just still carrying this stuff with Google, and I describe it. This is going to sound weird. And wasn't necessarily planning on saying this, but it's, please love me, Google. Please love me.
Of
Like,
course.
and I'm trying to get Google to validate me. And they've already rejected me multiple times. Like,
Sure.
they don't want me.
Yeah.
And that has become even more clear recently, just with some opportunities that just dried up. And I'm just like, wait, I spent my whole year after leaving Google, still trying to get into Google.
Sure.
And it did make sense, I think, because it was a low hanging fruit. I did have the relationships, the history, all of that stuff, but I don't want that anymore.
Mm.
And so part of me is now in this next chapter. It's okay. How's this going to look going forward? And can I just let go of that and step into this new chapter? And there's a bunch of different options that I'm patting around and would love your help on.
My pleasure. First of all, good awareness. I'll always start there. Good awareness. And also maybe just destigmatize a little bit this experience. Like what you're describing is not rare, right? It's not unique. Almost every single person I talk to that have experienced some sort of a job loss or layoff or some sort of more intense experience within their corporate experience. A lot of folks, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, it's not been a humane process of laying people off or firing people in some cases. And you're an interesting case, right? Because you're not trying to go back into corporate full time necessarily, but your clientele and the world that you're trying to market some of your services to are that environment. And of course, it makes
Mhm.
perfect sense to tap your network and work within those organizations. But then it bumps up against some of this like identity piece. And this is what most people I talk to struggle with. I see it in a few different ways too. Like you'll see, and there's a whole discussion on LinkedIn about this of putting ex Googler or ex
Mhm.
whatever in your line, defining yourself as this part of this older thing. And a lot of people latch onto that in the same way that we'll just throw a whole bunch of initials behind our name if we have certifications and things like that to give ourselves credibility and
Mhm.
authority, or to say, yeah, pick me, I'm one of you. And I think this is a whole
Validate. It's like
validate.
validation.
Yeah. And I think it goes beyond validation because validation to me, it gets thrown around as a word quite a bit. There's like a negative connotation to it. It's a
Mhm.
human need. It's called belonging. It's being part of community. It's being part of something familiar. So when we get ejected from an environment that we're familiar with, particularly if, like yourself, you had been there for many years, that's a deep, ancient type of nervous system response. In the ancient days, when we were ejected from the tribe, it meant death. Like it's dangerous out there, right? If you're hunting gathering, if you're in that kind of a mode, now obviously civilization has changed and it's not quite as dangerous, but it requires a reflection. It requires a moment of pause. And I think where a lot of people get stuck, and it sounds like I'm hearing a little bit of this in what you're sharing, is I just need to get through this and I need to move on to the next chapter. I need to move on to the next thing. I need to let go of the past. And good luck with that. I don't believe in letting go. I don't think it's possible. I think the better approach and more maybe nurturing and compassionate approach is like, can we let it be what it is? It's still alive in us. Right? There's still this hurt. There's still grief. There's still mourning. You're in a process of transition. And to try to push through and rush through it, it actually robs us of the ability to learn who we are now and what we need. And the evocation and the question that you actually put into place at the beginning of the call here, I think is really, really important when it actually ties to your own work around envisioning. In order to be able to envision what comes next, we need to know where we're standing. So I actually think it's a really beautiful moment and time for you to be standing in this question, this curiosity of, all right, well, what comes next? But there's a question before that of where are you now?
Yeah. What my mind wants to tell me is it's been 14 months. Get
Mm,
over it.
sure. Pick
Get
that.
over it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's less about rushing to get somewhere else. It's enough of this. Like I thought I was over this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So there's expectation there. I should be done by now.
Right.
Yeah. You ever broken an arm or broken a bone of any kind?
I have not, fortunately. I
Lucky
haven't
one.
hurt myself. I've strained muscles and things like that.
Yeah. So you strain something in sports or any kind of activity when you injure yourself. Are you ever healing faster than you want to?
No.
No. There's always a period where it's, I'm done with this now. And I shattered my elbow a few years ago. Actually, I think right around the time that we recorded one of our last podcast episodes. I was shocked at how long it took me to recover from that. To this day, I still have dysfunction in my shoulder. If I go to the gym and work out, I notice there's weakness there from where I had shattered my elbow and had it in a sling for a really long time. So there's these after effects of a moment in time that has impacted us, whether physically or emotionally or mentally or spiritually. And there's this other tendency that comes along with that of I should be done by now. I should be through this. And this is what I'm talking about. It robs us of the ability to be present with what actually is right now and learn, oh, this is what I need now. Here's who I am.
And so how would you advise sitting with that
Yeah.
and answering those questions?
Yeah. First of all, I think you've already started naming it in the beginning of the call. It's here's the questions that I'm wrestling with right now. So aside from the maybe unhelpful inner dialogue of I should
Hmm.
dot 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 enter whatever that is after that. We all have something like that. Instead of that, what else do you notice in this moment? And here, maybe I'll give you a little framework to start with. A little bit difficult sometimes. You're just like, all right, think about what you're noticing. So maybe it's if you start somatically, what do you notice in your body? Even as you just think about and reflect on this moment in time for you.
It feels like it's weird. It feels like a little bit of like restlessness, but also a little bit of ease. It's like
Mhm.
a combination of I'm good. I've learned a lot this year. I've made progress. I've met a lot of amazing people. I played golf every week from May to last week.
Yeah.
Feel great about that. I really enjoyed that. And I'm in a solid financial position where money doesn't need to be the motivating factor,
Yeah.
yet it still is. And then restlessness and what am I doing next? What am I doing? Do I want to keep doing what I'm doing? My wife posed a good question to me the other day in terms of I made X dollars this year and I put in Y amount of hours. And a pretty good amount of hours for not a ton of money.
Yeah.
I'll just say it. I don't care. So I made about $60,000 before expenses and I worked essentially the whole year, maybe 20, 25 hours a week. Is that the ROI that I would hope for? Because I could have made 200 grand working a job.
Sure.
But it's not, it's like, the question is not about the money. It's do I want to continue on that route? Is this the direction and the focus that I want to continue to have? Because those hours could be used for anything. They
Ah,
could be used for more golfing. They could be used for hanging out with my kids, right?
yeah.
We have a nanny that helps us and watches my son. Those days when he's not in school, I could be hanging out with him. And
Sure.
would I rather be trying to make money that I don't really need, or would I rather hang out with him or do some combination of that and focus on something else that maybe is a little bit more aligned and naturally life-giving?
Yeah. Just taking some notes here. Beautiful. So I want to pause you for a second and bring you back to the original question. What do you notice in your body? So even after just sharing all of that, let's check in for a second. Like physically,
I was closing
where
my arms.
so there's a little bit of closeness there. Where
Yeah.
does unease show up in your body?
My jaw. Oh, my
Yeah.
jaw mostly.
So it might be hard to tap into the physical right now. That's fine. Different entry points for different folks. You immediately go to all these stories, right? And all this rationalization and the measuring. And we'll get to some of this. I mentioned a couple of things, money, time. We talked a bit about identity here. The question I have underneath all of that I'd like to revisit if you're interested in it is like, what is actually being measured? And is it measuring against the right outcomes for the version of you that's present now versus what you've been used to measuring all this time?
Yeah.
So we'll get back to that if you want. But so body tension, jaw pressure, noticing a little bit of that. Is
Yeah.
there an emotional valence to any of that for you? Is there a feeling tone that comes along?
Just like
Confusion.
overwhelm.
Yeah.
Like I feel just all these ideas in my head, all these possibilities, opportunities, all very interesting and exciting and yet overwhelming.
Yeah. The awareness. All right. So we're noticing things here, right? We're noticing unease, we're noticing tension, we're noticing some emotional valence here, confusion, overwhelm. Is there a locus of awareness of where that is in your body? Like that feeling of overwhelm and that feeling of confusion?
I feel like my forehead, like here.
Yeah. So it's up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it fuzzy or is it clear for you?
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you started telling me some stories. Is there a story, like an overarching story that's coming along with this feeling in your body, this fuzziness and this feeling of overwhelm and confusion?
It's a feeling of not being where I should be,
Yeah.
not being far enough along, not having enough progress, only doing a handful of workshops,
Yeah.
which the underlying story is not good enough.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually is. But that's yeah, that's the underlying not doing it.
Ah, yeah. Not doing it right. So there's a competency thing there. Would you
Trust. It's trust. Trust in
is that
myself.
self-trust? Yeah. So first of all, beautiful awareness. Just being able to name these things and make them real, much like envisioning something that's coming into your future. I believe that's actually an image of your patio, but like you're standing right now in this thing that you envisioned and brought to life for yourself. So you already got the chops and got the skills to be able to bring things into the world.
That's true.
Part of that starts with the awareness of what is and noticing that tension. There's an
Mm.
expectation here that you're naming. I wonder if you were to tell me a story about Adam's the kind of person who dot, dot, dot. What's the story that you're telling yourself about progress and competency and trust and all of these things?
Adam's the type of person who has a lot of ideas, but doesn't follow through.
How does that feel saying that out loud?
Not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not good. It feels true, but it also feels unhelpful.
Yeah. So how does that square with that list of things that you just mentioned to me earlier about going to golf so often? Now that you have the openness and the spaciousness to do, spending time with your child, being with family, all these other things.
I feel good about those things.
Yeah. Would you count those as wins, would you say?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I wonder this idea of money and time. You mentioned you pulled in about 60 grand before expenses this year. By the way, that's a little bit more than the average American makes. So in terms of enoughness, let's get some perspective here.
True,
You
true.
know, we get really used to getting paid a lot of money, and I get the same feeling. I was look at my numbers at the end of the year for the work that I've been doing. I was like, oh, that's not quite Google money, but you know what? I'm paying my bills. I'm
Mhm,
enjoying my life. I'm able
mhm.
to do the things that I want to and spend the time in the ways that I want to. What an interesting word too. Investing time, prioritizing time.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like you mentioned this idea of money. You're measuring, was the ROI of these efforts worth the money I earned? Is that the most helpful metric to be measuring your activities by?
I don't think so. But I've been doing it for so long, it's hard to let go of that. Or not let go, it's just like focus elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example. Like I've had this idea a few times that I want to create more connection with the audience of
Yeah.
this podcast. I have about 500 downloads a week. There's people listening, there's people opening the emails and getting value from it, the conversations. I would love to hold space to connect with those people,
Mm.
have do live guided meditations, sit together, and then talk, right? Maybe do some exercises where we identify your vision and just check in and live coaching people on making their vision a reality and just track the progress and build those relationships. And I've talked myself out of this a couple of times
Sure.
because it's not going to make a lot of money. Maybe it will make some money, but the thing is, I don't need the money. And so that's been the thing. And I was doing group coaching and I enjoyed that. But I had this thought for the same effort to convince one person to give me X thousand dollars to do a coaching program, I could convince a company to pay me more for a 1 hour, a 2 hour or 1 day workshop.
Yeah.
And maybe that is true, but that's letting money be the primary metric and motivator, and it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. That makes sense, right? Mindful fire. Implicit in the name of the podcast is financial independence, retire early. The whole goal is oriented around having enough money to retire early. What it doesn't imply is what you do once you get that and how you pick new ways of measuring success that isn't oriented around money.
A big focus of the podcast even is the what do you want to do after,
Yeah.
but the outdated measurement system of success is needs to be updated.
Yeah. So let me bring it back again for a second. Talking about trying to move through something. All right. Oh, I should be done by now. Or,
Mhm.
oh, I still feel something from the past. There's grief, maybe anger, resentment, all kinds of feelings there. What about right now? Like in this very moment right now, just having said that, here's this vision that I have for something I'd like to put out into the world. I keep talking myself out of it because of money stories. What would be another outcome that you'd like to see of that?
Enjoyment. Enjoyment. I'm thinking back to an episode I did with this woman, Sarah McCrum, who wrote a book called Love Money, Money Loves You.
Yeah.
She says she didn't write the book, was channeled through her. Money itself wrote the book, apparently, which was a wild episode, but it was awesome. And she says in the book and on the podcast, use enjoyment as the primary metric
Yeah.
and just let that guide So I need to go back and listen to that. But like enjoyment, right? Connection,
Yeah.
fun, like more fun. How could I that's when I asked myself the question a couple months ago, like, how can I make this more fun? This business, this podcast,
Mm.
what would it look like if it was more fun? That was the answer.
Beautiful.
Creating a simple community, right? Like, I don't want to make some big thing where we have speakers every month. And you were building a community before, right? And you had a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot going on. There were a lot of moving parts. I don't want any moving parts. I want a calendar invite in a Zoom.
Yeah.
People can join and they can pay me $10 a month and just to have some skin in the game and they can show up
Yeah.
and that's it. I don't want any, I don't, because I'm not really operationally minded. I'm connection and vision minded. And
Yeah.
so I just want to be with people and have a good time and support them and be supported by them. That's it.
Yeah. That sounds like a really lovely thing to put into the world. I wonder, as you're reflecting on that and evoking what you'd like to see this be, if you're approaching it from a place of fun or connection or enjoyment, what would that do for you?
What would that do for me? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
What would be the benefit to you of that? How would
I
it
would,
make you feel?
I would have more fun. I
Yeah.
would probably be happier.
Why is that
Um,
important?
why is that important? Because it's nice to be happy.
Yeah. So there's this pathway towards happiness and fun that's right in front of you. There's a
Yeah,
part of you that's saying,
right.
what is it saying?
It's saying
Yeah.
that I want to make money, and
Yeah.
my wife is still working and making money, and I don't want to be a freeloader. Maybe that's what it's saying. I think that is the tension that I feel, and why money has remained a focus is because she's still working.
Uh,
And
Let me pause you for a
yeah,
second there. I don't think it's because she's working at all.
okay.
That's the mirror being held up for you by you.
What do you mean?
You comparing yourself.
Right?
And I wonder, like, what's the story you're telling yourself about being a freeloader? What does it say about Adam? That's interesting because it doesn't really compute with the connection, enjoyment, and fun you were just telling me about earlier.
Certainly not fun.
Yeah.
It's like maybe I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't have too much fun.
Interesting. What
Yeah,
would happen if you
because
had too much fun?
maybe I'm already having too much fun.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Oh, I want her to have more fun with me, but she's working and oh, it's like I shouldn't be doing these more fun. I need to make money to
Mm,
support the family and I need to, or maybe I should help out more. I do,
sure.
but I could do more.
Yeah, Macaulay's good.
But yeah,
So I think we're circling around something here. It's actually really important. We talked a minute ago about identity, the
mm,
identity that we have as the breadwinner, as the multi six figure tech worker income, as the person with the title, ex Googler, has a different connotation to it than, oh, yeah, my name's Adam Coelho and this is what I do at Google. So there's this story that you've constructed. How long were you at Google?
14 years.
It's not an insignificant percentage of your life, I would imagine.
Certainly not. It's about 100% of my career.
Yeah. So you've got yourself trained, right? Some might say indoctrinated. A lot of the work that I do with people in corporate, particularly people that are transitioning into entrepreneurship or retirement, it's a retrainment of identity, like literally updating their worldview and their picture of who they are and what matters to them. This is why I'm asking these kind of somewhat leading questions of what's the story you're telling yourself about who you are as a husband to a woman who's still working.
Was that a question?
Sure. And what comes up for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm like caught up in the man breadwinner thing. Like I trust the numbers. I trust that we've saved and invested enough. Good.
So you're still providing for your family.
Right. Yeah. And my vision and dream was always to be an entrepreneur, but in my own time, in my own way. Like I use that phrase all the time in
Yeah.
my own time, in my own way. And that's really what this year has been about. It's been finding my own way and time to do that, where it's not a side hustle, but it's the primary focus. I wouldn't say it's a full-time job, and I don't want it to be a full-time job. But I think that comes with the need to make money. And then entrepreneurial lens comes with the money metric. Doesn't necessarily need to, but in my mind, it is. And the fact that my wife is working and working a full-time stressful job that is earning money and parenting and
Sure.
doing all the things, I don't know. It's all I should be making money too.
I wonder, there's a couple questions that come up for me here around worth and deserving or not. Do you feel like you've earned your retirement?
I do. But I also think about all the people who are still working, all the people who are struggling and work well past 65 because
Mhm.
they need to. And so I don't know if I feel guilty, but I certainly, yeah, I think that is there. And part of me feels great. Like I feel like I beat the game, which I love. I love beating the game. I love beating the system.
You worked the system to bring something into the world and to manifest something that you've been planning for years. And here you are.
Yeah,
Are you able to own it?
I think so. But I think also not fully yet because I'm still letting money be the primary motivator. If I was truly retired, like I think of my parents, my mom is still very money focused.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know if it's side hustling if you don't have a job, but she is still very money motivated. My dad is more like just enjoyment motivated and doesn't think about that. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, right? We live in a capitalist society here. Let's just call it what it is. Most of the measuring sticks of success are how much money do you have in the bank? What's your net worth? How much
Mm.
do you earn? How well are you able to create a nest egg for your family? These are all part and parcel to being in modern Western culture right now. And here you are, an outlier. You bucked the system and you leveraged it in a way that allowed you to bring into life the thing that you have on your hat, you know, like this present, aware of financial independence and everything that comes along with that, including maybe feeling a little guilt or not like I maybe don't deserve it. And then you've got right there in your own home a partner who is still plugged into that system. And there's like this tension here. And I wonder if connection, enjoyment, fun were the measuring sticks of this moment in your life. How would you look over the last year of all the things that you did do? Forget about for a minute what you earned. Let's assume that's not a valid metric. The lagging measure is just like an additional bonus that you actually also got paid for it. But if you're measuring what you've done this year and who you've become and what you've learned about yourself through the lens of connection, enjoyment, and fun, what would you say?
I'd say I did pretty well. I've had periods where I was like forcing and trying to move the business forward. And there were a lot of time where I was sitting behind the keyboard writing emails that who knows how many people read or if they had an impact or whatever, cold emailing administrative business partners at Google trying to drum up business for workshops to get money. But I also had times where I had great connection. I played a lot of golf. I made some new friends. I had conversations with people. I met people through podcasts and communities, and I invested deeply in creating relationships within the Front Row Dads community and with my band. I got to talk to people like you quite often and have real conversations. And recently, I started reaching out to old friends and colleagues that no longer work at Google and I just hadn't talked to in a while. And with the intention, mostly of catching up, but also the downstream intention of getting introductions and workshops. But I loved those conversations. They were enriching. And I always tell the story of this one woman, Mila, who I worked with 2010, 2011. And we were friendly then, but we didn't hang out a lot. So we didn't have a lot of long conversations. But a couple weeks ago, I reached out to her and we booked time for a half hour and we ended up talking for 2 hours. And she's like a busy Silicon Valley venture capital. And we just had this amazing conversation that was like certainly the longest conversations we ever had. And just connect. It's like you and I, every time we connect, it's like picking up with an old friend. And it was just so enriching. I appreciated it so much. And she gave me a lot of great advice about the business and stuff, but it was just like sharing our stories and catching up on life. And so those conversations were awesome. I've had a bunch of those conversations and some of them have introductions have come from those, but it's what if that was the end in itself and anything after was a bonus?
Yeah. So there's this moment you're noticing, right? Where you're at right now, where there's these multiple tensions. There's the old measuring sticks of money, notoriety, validation, what have you, And then there's this other thing that's starting to percolate where it's, oh, I had the luxury and the ability to just be with somebody for a couple hours and get a lot of really beautiful connection out of that. In your own methodology around envisioning, like if you were to put together a little envisioning practice for yourself, okay, now you've got a little bit of time under your belt. You got a year of practicing being retired, and you have a year of practicing holding these tensions. What would you like to see happen moving forward?
Let me think. Yeah, I think letting go of money as the primary motivator, allowing my purpose to guide me and be the primary metric, creating opportunity through connection,
Yeah.
connection being the primary metric. Opportunity will come, and not just opportunity for me. I get huge satisfaction and enjoyment from connecting people together. When we started this call, I said, I have a friend that really could use a chat with you.
Yeah.
And that would be opportunity for you and opportunity for him and opportunity for me by making that connection. And so I would love to do that. And I'd love to support people in creating a bigger vision for their life
Mm.
and pushing them to think bigger and to get in touch with what they actually want. And yeah, I think back to the group coaching stuff that I did. And like, it's amazing how a lot of the opportunities that have come this year were from connections. When I say opportunities, workshops that I did for companies and teams, those are all because of warm introductions from connections.
Yeah.
Several of these amazing conversations and relationships I had, I think of this woman, Courtney, who's going to be on the podcast on Monday. She was at Apple.
Mhm.
She was leading mindfulness communities. She was there for a long time. She was pursuing financial independence, and she recently left and is now in this new chapter. And she was side hustling. She's like me at Apple, essentially. And that came about through the podcast and through when I was promoting my group coaching program. We had a call and it was like, she was potentially interested. And this other guy, Andres, who was a Googler, potentially interested. And both of them I've kept in touch with and built a relationship with. And opportunities have come from the introductions to other people have come from those things
Mm.
years later, or like a year and a half later. And I know you've told me this as well for your business. A lot of those seeds were planted a long time ago. And my intention this year was to think of this year as planting seeds. And I did that. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think it's great. I love that.
It's a beautiful thread you're pulling on here because when I asked you, you're talking about money originally. It's like 1/16 of what you just shared with me was like, yeah, I want to let go of money as a measurement. And then you moved into this whole collection of values oriented descriptions of what you wanted to bring into the world. And then you started to get into a little bit of like almost even validating yourself around, oh, yeah, no, the value of that connection is this, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it takes. I love the metaphor that you're putting together of planting seeds. I'm here in Colorado right now. I know you're in the East Coast. It's cold, right? Here we are at the end of the season. Some of us have planted seeds for next year. But what we don't do typically is plant those seeds, let them germinate over the winter, and then judge them for taking so long to sprout in the spring. We know that there's a natural rhythm to bringing things to life. And if we measured how much revenue we're getting from selling our vegetables that we grow in the garden, and we're judging ourselves for not being able to earn that revenue until they start to sprout, that's got to be pretty painful. It's an uncomfortable
Fighting
way.
reality.
Yeah, you're fighting reality, just nature. And what I hear a little bit on what you're sharing here, it's like there's this awareness that there's other things, like what the other things are to measure success by that isn't money, but it requires you stepping into a new version of yourself and maybe even a little bit of acceptance of what is right now in
Mm.
order to allow what was to just be as it is. And I know maybe that's like a little bit heady to get your senses around, but like to simplify it, it's like, can we tell ourselves a more helpful story about what we're doing right now that isn't tethered to old ways of measuring success and identity and value and worthiness? Can we tell ourselves a new story, even if we don't fully believe it yet? and allow that to be something that guides us moving forward. This is a little bit closer to your envisioning work because there's a little bit more steeped in some of the story reclamation work that I do. What's the story you're telling yourself about who you were and what you were doing, who you are now and what you're doing now, and who you need to be in the future and what you want to bring into the world? You focus a bit on that other last piece. I'm curious how much work you've done about the first two, the story you're telling yourself about who you are and what you were doing, who you are now and what you're doing now.
Not as much. Not as much. Yeah. I think it's a good thing to explore. Just, yeah, who am I now? And who was I? And at Google, after Google, and yeah, just take inventory of where I am,
Yeah.
where I've been, and where I want to go, who I want to become to live the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's much more driven by connection and curiosity and enjoyment and fun. And I keep coming back to the question of how can this business be more fun? What does fun look like? And that's when I was like, let me stop cold emailing people. Let me start reaching out to old friends and just catch up with them and let that be enough and tell them what I'm up to. And if there's ask them if they know anyone and plant that seed. That's it.
I have a provocative question for you. What if it's not a business at all?
That is at odds with my entrepreneurial vision.
Yeah, entrepreneurial is a tricky term, right? It's loaded. Comes with a lot of expectations and assumptions with it. But what if it was a practice or a way of being as opposed to
Mhm.
a business? And yeah, we can hold possibility that it could become revenue generating. But if you let go of, oh, this needs to be an entrepreneurial endeavor or a business, what would it look like to move into a life of connection, enjoyment, and fun and own that a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It would feel easier. Yeah. I don't know if it needs to be one or the other. I think it could be both. And the business could be, the metrics could be that. And I want to say trust that the money will come. But then again, that money becomes the end goal,
Yeah.
an opportunity. Like it's, yeah, like letting connection be enough,
Yeah.
letting fun be enough.
Yeah. What you're wrestling with right now, it's not some small thing. Essentially, what you're saying is, let me decouple myself. Let me allow myself to actually decouple from capitalism. Like you're still a consumer. I'm sure you still buy things. Your golf outings aren't free, but you're doing something that most people don't get a chance to do until late, late in life, which
Mm,
is to decide how they want to spend their days,
mm,
unfettered by the expectations of a capitalist system or corporation or an identity that did a damn good job of allowing you to survive and thrive in that environment for 14 years. What you're asking of yourself is evolution. And there's always a period of transition with that that's challenging because there's the awareness you've built of here's what I want versus here's what I actually do and put into the world on a day to day basis. And those aren't always aligned.
yeah. Yeah. I think this all makes sense. And it's like I get the opportunity to choose a new way of being, way of building my days and investing my time and energy. And I think I want to choose a new metric
Mm.
next year
Yeah.
and just build my days to do that. When I think about next year, the top priorities for me, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids,
Mm.
and my health.
Beautiful.
I've made some progress on those things this year, especially the health piece, after saying for years and years that I wanted to. And I want to continue making that a priority and not, there were a lot of times I didn't go to the YMCA for a swim because I was sitting here sending cold emails to people who didn't want them, potentially. I think that is fair to say. So what if I built my days differently? What if I made those pillars and practices the rocks, so to speak, in the jar of my calendar instead of the afterthought?
Yeah.
And then letting enjoyment, connection, fun be the metric system.
Yeah. And I wonder if you were to do that, if you were to step into that practice and to create those conditions for that vision that you have that you're putting together to be able to sprout, how do you think that would impact your wife who's still working and your son and your sense of self?
I think it'd be a lot more easeful and lighter. Yeah, I know for a fact that the times when I'm short with my kids or to get extra frustrated with my kids is when I'm feeling bad about the progress that I'm making or not making. Usually it's not making. And it's very clear when that happens. And it's funny, like I felt like I let go of the pace and striving and never good enough of Google, but maybe I just replaced it with a different version.
And
This is a lesson I have to, it takes me multiple times to learn all these lessons.
it takes a lot of us. I call them re-epiphanies.
Re-epiphanies. That's good. Nick, thank you so much. As we wrap up here, I know this was all about me, and I'm grateful to you for doing this and for being such a good friend and resource and mentor and spiritual guide to me since we met. So thank you for that.
My pleasure, man. And if I could, can I leave you with one last question? And maybe for the
Yeah.
folks that are listening,
That's
they're
what I
really
was
useful.
thinking. This was a lot about me, but I would love, hopefully people got something out of this. And I'd love for you to leave us with a question that people, as they are doing this reflection on their year end or beginning of the year, depending on when this comes out, what would you have them ask themselves?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the vulnerability and just being able and willing to go there and to just talk about some of these things. This is not small stuff. These is existential questions that we're wrestling with. Who am I worthy or not? Can I step into a new version of myself and live the life that I've built for myself? This is ancient work. So thank you for letting me witness it, and thank you for just doing that work. I think it's really important. I'll leave you with a question in just a moment, but I want to mention something. I don't know if you remember the phrase that I offered to you multiple times, or multiple phone calls when you call me and you're like, all right, I'm on the way to go play golf. Do you remember what I've said to you over and over again?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I hope so. When you say it, hopefully I'll
Yeah,
remember.
versions of what I've said over and over again is go out and enjoy that game of golf
Mm,
because you can. You're doing it for the rest of us who aren't on the green right now. Enjoy it. You've built this life. You've collected these resources. You've managed to escape velocity into financial independence. Enjoy it.
mm.
Live it. Be a shining example to other people, warts and all, because it's the struggle that comes along with that too. Just even talking about these things and being vulnerable about these things and exploring these questions is widely valuable to many people. And what I would offer to other folks, and I would offer to you as well, it's a simple question, but it's not easy to implement. It's like what
Repeat that.
conditions would need to be present for you to fully arrive to this moment and step into the version of yourself that you want to be.
All right. Good question. I got to spend some time with it, and I hope others will as well. And if you are hearing this and this resonates with you, I'd love to hear what comes up for you. Yeah. And obviously, if you are looking for support with this, I cannot recommend Nick enough. And so, Nick, where can people connect with you,
Yeah.
learn about all the incredible things that you're putting into the world, and learn about working with you?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. First of all, rebellioncollective.co, my company. You can find me there. You can also find my wild rebellion retreats, my quiet rebellion coaching, and this whole ecosystem of rebellion. It's rebellion against these very things that we're talking about, the not enoughness, the systems of extraction and distraction that keep us from the type of life that we want to have. So this conversation is very much aligned. And if folks are interested, I have a freebie for them. I have a journaling prompt guide that I offer to folks. It's daily, weekly, quarterly, and yearly journaling prompts to help you through these various different transition points. And it's helping people ask the very same questions that you started the podcast with today. What do I want to bring into the world next? Who do I need to be? What do I want to let go of and let be so that I can fully arrive? So if folks are interested in that, they can check it out. You can get it on my website. You can also just DM me on LinkedIn, Nicholas Whitaker. I'm pretty much there every day. And hopefully I'll be back here on the podcast again someday soon. And we can talk a little bit more about what you're bringing into the world.
Absolutely. And remind us where they can download that.
You can sign up for my newsletter, my mailing list at rebellioncollective.co, and you'll get the little prompt to download it there. And worst comes to worst, if you can't find me anywhere else, find me on LinkedIn. Just DM me, say hello, tell me that you found me through Adam's podcast, and I'll kick the link to you there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. Pleasure as always to spend time with you. And I really appreciate you walking me through this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. Good to see you again.